Well, hello there, good evening, and welcome. This is your superstation, Joy 99.7 FM, and this is Strong and Sassy. I'm happy to be back. It feels like I've been gone forever, but I haven't. It was just last week there was football. But tonight, interesting conversation. I love it if you join. Remember that we're always live and interactive, live on Facebook. Love to hear your comments, and for all those of you who have been texting me and saying that our guests tonight are very beautiful, please go on Facebook. You can observe all the gestures and the facial expressions and, just enjoy the landscape of the show. Anyways, my name is Animwaa Anim-Addo, and we'll be doing this until 8 o'clock. And tonight, joining me, Aram, who sits in for me when I'm not here. And I'm always grateful that she makes the time, because a lot of the times it's last minute. Aram has gone from... Anyway, she's a serial entrepreneur now. Woman of many colors, because we started as okay. So hi, Aram.
Hi.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you. I miss you so much.
I know. Oh, okay, the accents. Okay. And then we have Yael Israel Tondi. She's a business development manager for Impro Technology Limited. Hi.
Hi.
So let me just warn you in advance. It's going to be a very accented evening, representing from different parts of the universe. So you'll understand what I mean in a minute. Anyways, tonight we're talking, are single women more successful? So let me tell you how I came up with this topic. Mm-hmm. I was speaking to a lady who is in her 80s. Very successful. Very, very successful woman. And we were just having a normal conversation. And she said, if I had been married, she was divorced, I would not have been who I was. And I was like, why? She's like, well, it's a bit difficult being married or running a home and being super successful. And then there's the power struggle. There's the where are you? What time are you coming? What event are you going to? Who is going to be there? I want to go with you when there's no space for another person. There's why can't I go with you? You're traveling too much. And all of those things. And I thought, wow, I don't think I've heard men say that in such an impactful way. Men will usually just say, well, she's talking too much, she's nagging, but not to the extent where it's actually really impactful on whether a woman is successful or not. And then I found this survey of African women, anonymous African women, and 74% of the respondents said they have been much more successful single than they were married, or have just decided not to get married. So either cohabit or have a partner, but not make that full commitment because they feel that they have more freedom or a better chance at reaching their full potential if they are single. So that's how come we're having this conversation tonight. Are single women more successful, or do single women stand a better chance of becoming their absolute best? So that's our conversation. And phone lines, not phone lines, our WhatsApp lines are open, 055-111-11997. I'd love to hear what you think. I'm sure you will let us know what you think. We'll try and open the phone lines at the end, so that you can take part. So coming straight to you guys, Aram, let me start with you. Just off the bat, what do you think?
It depends. And tonight I'm going to be careful with what I say, but I will still.
Why though?
Because I don't want people to come for me, but then again,
come for you anyways.
I will still be my authentic self in this conversation. So I would say it depends, because it depends on who you're with. Now, some of the experiences that I'll be sharing is because I've experienced both dimensions. Being with someone who I felt was probably, I don't know, it was jealousy or didn't want me to shine or outshine them. And I've had a lot of people also share the same sentiments with me, obviously women, but men are always going to be like, oh, I'm going to be supportive, but then when push comes to shove, you're the one that's always making the compromise. Because, example, if a man and a woman have to go out, if I want to go out for a girls' night out, and I'm with someone, and let's say someone, the first question, if I had a husband and a kid, would be, so who's going to take care of the child? But if a man wants to go out, he's just going to be like, yo, I'm sitting with the boys, and then he's out. Because the assumption is you're going to take care of the child whilst I go out. But But if I want to go out, I probably have to make sure that you are fed and the kids have everything that they need before I go out. But you just feel like, you know what, I'm going to stay out late. I can say I have to make sure that I make plans that you're going to be okay. It boils down to if I need to travel. If I'm single, I can pick a bag. I mean, you know me in real life. I'll be outside all the time. And I enjoy doing these things because I know that if I get married, depending on who I'm getting married to, it will become an issue if I'm just going to up and move. And I know someone in real life who his issue with his wife is why she's always going somewhere. Because he is not into traveling that much and she is always into traveling, and it's an issue. But if she was single, she can just do whatever it is she wants to do. If I have to travel, I get an opportunity to travel or do a course. If I was single, I can just move. If I'm married, I have to make sure that my husband is going to be okay and my kids. So it's those things. But I'll let y'all come in, and then I would start giving the real life examples that I've had with having someone who I feel like was really a supportive partner. Okay. And then being with someone who was coming for me for what I was doing.
Okay. All right. Okay, cool.
So I'll agree with you on that point that I believe, again, is it depends. And I also think that we have to look at the fact that a lot of things play in what we...
Why are you speaking so softly? Like, I don't understand. Before we started the show, like, it was like,
yeah. So...
Oh, you guys are trying to be like civilized. Nah, it's not working. Please.
So, you know what? You're the second or third person who said that to me. And that's because I am really naturally loud.
Yeah, so like go ahead.
Not to bust any of your listeners' eardrums. And then also with the accent, sometimes I realize I have to slow it down.
Oh, they're used to the accent because Aaron puts one on every single time she's on. So feel free, please.
But I think it's also a cultural thing as well, because I've experienced American women who are much more successful than their counterparts, their husbands. And some of these men enjoy the fact that it's the woman who's actually out there and she's the breadwinner, because it allows them to now assume the position of, relaxing. And not just relaxing, or maybe taking on a different stance when it comes to work, especially now that we're in this era of a lot more people accepting this work from home option. But I also think it has to look at what does success mean to each individual. For some people, success may be having a lot of money. Success may be having that stable home life. So I think before we can make a statement that is maybe a blanket statement, breaking it down per each person's and each woman and their situation, and seeing what do they measure as success and how ambitious is each individual. Because I've met some single women who were not very ambitious, and they wanted, somebody to take care of them. Okay. And for them, that was successful.
Okay, so I think that what we mean by this in this conversation is single or married, which situation. So not success in your marriage, but like being successful at your job or with your dreams or in your career. So is it easier to be that if you're single, or is it easier to be that if you're married? So that's the measuring. And then obviously in terms of success, we mean do what you want to do. So work the late hours if you need to. If you're in politics, campaign as much as you need to. Be able to travel, be able to, whatever, everything that you need, and not worry about how is he going to feel about...
people, I was talking to someone who told me that, I'm not going to slow you down. I'm not going to... And I'm like, it's easier said than done. Absolutely. And so now I'll go into a typical example, which I gave a friend whilst we're discussing this topic. So I was working for a particular brand, and a part of my job involved scouting for locations for an event for the brand. Okay. So I was talking to a particular guy at the time, and I was so busy, we weren't spending time. So I was going to this thing, it's like a pub, I'm not going to mention the name, and I had to meet with the owner, and it was in the night.
Okay.
And as part of that, I was also asked some friends to come out to see how the event plays out. So if I want to get it for the client or what, that kind of thing. So I asked this guy to come with me to the thing. So it was in the night. I was looking gorgeous. I mean, cute dress. And so I come to the thing with him. I let him sit behind. Then I have to go and sit with the owner of the place. And he was with other ballers, quote unquote. And I was having they were, treating me nice lady, everything. And in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, this person is watching me. Well, my head was feeling very heavy, but I have to work. So I have to work the event, finish everything.
Work
business,
the ballers
so that they can give me this venue for this space, and I have to carry myself in a
because that is the reality of the situation.
Exactly. Yeah. That is me working.
Yeah.
And then he has to be behind me and sit there and just be cute. And then after I finish working the room, then I can come sit with you, and then we can have a good time. And so after, I didn't really explain it to him like that, but then after we sat down, that's the reality of my job. He took it really well. Eventually, I got a space, and then the event was happening. So for a space of 3 to 6 months, I was out working every Thursday night till midnight, 1, 2, the event would close before I go home. Whilst there, another guy who liked me came to the thing. And later, after that, he distanced himself. Then he was giving me feedback. And he says, when I saw you working the thing, I don't know how I feel seeing you interacting with all these guys, blah, 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 blah. And I feel like if we enter into a relationship, you wouldn't give me that same amount of attention and all of those. Yeah, it was really, I was like, so that's why you stopped talking to me? So these are two situations, right? But this is me doing my job. If I give a different example, is if I was dating probably a DJ, a guy who's a DJ, you know that he works late nights, probably from Tuesday to Sunday, he's in the club.
Yeah.
If I'm his girlfriend,
I couldn't date a DJ.
Thank you. Because he's going to be outside, hanging out, playing music, interacting with people. A lot of women are going to love him.
Yeah.
Do you know? But then that's him doing his job. If you decide to date a DJ, you need to be okay with that. So if you decide to be with someone like me, you need to be okay with the fact that this is what I do. You don't then marry me and go okay, now you need to quit your job because I don't want you going out late nights and working. But that's me doing my job. That's the difference between, that's what we're saying in terms of, do I have the room to do what I'm supposed to do? Because you met me doing this and you like me. You can now marry me and say, okay, now we're together. I demand exclusivity, so I want you to stay at home or change jobs. That is where we're having the issue. That is where the issues will come. It can be, there are people whose job involves them traveling out. Do you want to follow me every time? For me, I don't mind. If you want to come with me every Thursday night so we go and let me work, you can come. But I will still do what I need to do, interact with people the way I need to interact with them so I can get paid. And vice versa.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm not blind to the fact that being single allows you a lot more flexibility. Of course it does. Yeah. Because I'm married. I have 3 children. I also work. And, when I make decisions, I don't just think about myself, whatever decision I make. I always take in consideration my husband, my children, and the other members of the family. But then when it comes to having this relationship, it now needs to look at what is the communication between you and this partner to understand that, hey, if these are my ambitions, then are these ambitions being told at the very beginning of the relationship? Yeah. And then also, are you in line to follow along with the ambitions, or at least allow me and support me? Yes. Because in the same line that there are some men out there, and there are plenty of them who do not want the woman to be very ambitious because they have the idea of her being the homemaker. There are also a lot of men out there who realize that with you advancing your career, it actually brings more benefit to me. Yeah. And it's interesting, when I seen the topic this evening, I actually, it was messaged to me earlier in the day. I was having this conversation with my husband. I'm like, there's a lot of women, great women I can think of, who are extremely successful in their careers, and yet they were married. And one of them who stood out to me was Margaret Thatcher. She was the first prime minister, first female prime minister of the UK. And yet, I remember even my mother-in-law mentioned this to me, that she had said in a speech one time, I'm the prime minister of the nation. When I go home, I'm his wife.
Yes.
And it was quite a humbling statement to me that I can be successful in what I'm doing as far as being the leader of an entire nation and one of the most powerful nations on the earth. But yet when I come home, I can now take off that hat and still be the wife. And to me, it gave a bit of light into the relationship of her and her husband, that it seems that there isn't no power, there is not a power struggle there, because she can now play the two hats, because there has been an alliance between her and her husband.
For some reason, I wonder the kind of compromises or the price that, I don't know, so this is speculation, the price that somebody like Margaret Thatcher may have had to pay in private. We don't know how much of ego stroking she had to do. We don't know how many arguments there were. We don't know if she had to cajole or bribe or pacify on the nights when she was out of town, and we don't know if there were affairs. I mean, we don't know any of these things. And of course, we don't know if when she said, or when she praised her husband publicly, she was doing it to pacify him, or whether she really meant it. And I'm saying all of this because I've met women who have said, when we come into public, you know, we say, oh, you know, our husbands are amazing and all of that, and we're saying it to make them happy. But when we go home, we're going home to a squeezed face and an ego that is bruised and battered because we're more successful. I remember Whitney Houston. There was a period when there was it's a clip, it's even on TikTok, she was out in public and the reporters would approach her and they'd be like, oh, Whitney Houston, and she'd be like, I'm Mrs. Mrs. Call me Mrs. You know, and she talked about that. I mean, if you're married to somebody like Whitney Houston, no matter who you are, you know what I mean. So I wonder that even with the women who have come out and said all these things, what are some of the compromises that they've had to make? I think we have
to take everybody at face value, because it's I've met a lot of women who are also single, and you will feel like they have it all, and then behind closed doors they'll tell you, I'm lonely, I'm depressed, I do want somebody, I want somebody, I want the family, I want, you know, this whole, you know, the marriage with the white picket fence and the house and everything. So I feel like, one, we have to either take people at what they tell us, unless we have those personal relationships with them. But then again, all of this to me boils down to, what is your personal ambition? Because we can also be successful together. Absolutely. We can also be ambitious together. And I do believe that there are couples out there who are like that. Was like, okay, well, if this is what we want to achieve, let us achieve it. But then again, like you said, we're not in these their personal houses, so you never know what they're actually experiencing behind the closed doors.
And I also want to add that, it's part of my experiences as well. I dated someone who has been extremely supportive, and so having this conversation, we as women from the jump, you know who you are, excuse me, what you want to do. So for me, I've said on this show so many times, having a supportive partner is very key to me, because of what I'm doing, what I plan to do, where I'm planning to go. It's key for me, and the support is just not in words. Like, I need to see it and how that plays out. For example, with my ex, like, if I say I want to do this, he's thinking, can you do bigger? What do you need to get this done? So if you know that you're an ambitious woman, like we said, there are women who are content with, I do basic, you take care of me, we're good to go. They can fall into that role easily. And then there are women who want to do bigger things, and so that will require some compromise on that side. So know who you are and deal with people who are like you or who understand that. Also with the men, the biggest mistake you can do is date someone like me, let me use myself as an example, and think that you want to mold me into something that I'm not. That's where the fight is, where people think that, oh, she'll change, or when she gives birth, she'll change, or when she gets married, she'll change.
She'll get worse.
And you will be married to someone who say, you know what, maternity leave is in 3 months, and I'm getting a nanny, and it will become a fight, because you're thinking, oh, you should slow down. but she's no, like, I have to get back to work. Then that will become an issue because in your mind you thought, oh, I can get her pregnant and subdue her. I've heard people say things to me like, you need to find someone to tame you. What am I?
A lion or a tiger.
You know, so know who you are and what is going to work for you. And don't compromise on that, because even if you do that in the name of looking for the white picket fence, that is innate in you. It's always going to come up, and then you're going to get divorced. And then you would now have to come and explain. You go there, explain, Taya. No evidence.
I think that the white picket fence. Okay, I'm just, what? Okay, it's a thing that a lot of women want, and then when you get it, you realize that it's not for some women. It's not enough. It's not everything. It's when you don't have it, it seems like it's everything, and then when you have it, it's not everything.
The grass is always greener on the other side.
Exactly.
For most people,
But when you tell single people that,
see, someone told me this is how marriage looks like. Give me a vivid example. This friend of mine was, when he gave me that description, he was getting a divorce. He's now divorced, and he says it's like we're going to the movies. And the movie, we have like a 6 p.m. showtime, then there's an 8 p.m. showtime and a 10 p.m. So the 6 people go, and they're coming out at 8, and the 8 people are coming, they're like, yo, this movie is not giving. And they go like, no, like, it's hype, we need to go and see it. Then they go and see it. And then they come out, and then the 10 people are like, yo, this is a waste of money. You shouldn't go and see this movie.
wow.
That's such an interesting statement, though, because it be those same people who you see get in 3, 4, 5 marriages, and I'm like, if you don't like the show, why
do you keep
going?
No, we like the cinema and the movies. It was that particular movie that we didn't like.
It was that particular
So we
movie.
haven't given up on you never have.
I've run into some people. I've been married 3 times, and I'm like,
why?
okay, well, what happened this time? Well, this happened that time. I'm like, okay. And what happened this time? Well, this happened that time. And I'm like, what happened this time? Well, this time. And I'm like, don't you think you're the common denominator in every situation?
Wow.
But again, that's my opinion.
It's a good opinion. I'm not going to take you on because I've been married a couple of times, but yeah, I'm not going to take you on. But I absolutely get
Not
what you
you.
mean. No, I absolutely get what you mean, and I am the problem. It's fine. I accept it. It's not even up for discussion. Okay. I know. Like,
Next question, please.
I knew this was going to start some drama.
I own it. I am the problem. You approach at your own risk.
I don't think I want to approach anymore.
I'm just saying. Like, so I totally get that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in you guys' opinion, what are some, because from what you guys are saying, a lot of it is conversations from the get-go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
The problem is with conversations from the get-go, depending on where you are in life and how old you are, there are things you do not know to discuss.
Yeah,
That's true.
So true.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, that is.
I look back, and I've been married 7 years, and I look back, and I got married when I was 26, and I always tell people that was not the plan. That was not what I had, in mind. If you would have met me when I was 23 and you told me you're going to get married in 3 years, I'm like, no, I'm not. But it happened, and you literally see the progression of maturity and
how much you change.
Exactly how much I've changed and my communication skills, because I still have the issue where sometimes I'm upset, I don't want to talk about it, and then I have to remember, if you don't talk about it, you don't address it, you won't resolve it.
Absolutely.
And it will be bottled down. So again, that's another thing. And I mean, it's always, when we talk about relationships and success and dealing with people, it always comes back to communication.
Absolutely.
Truthfully, we're not taught how to properly communicate.
Yes.
We're not taught how to properly communicate. It's not until you become an adult, after having maybe decades of poor communication, that now you have to go back and say, hey, babe, I want to start a YouTube page. I have this idea. And it's like, don't nobody want to listen to you on YouTube. I want to be an influencer. You're too fat. I want to do this. Or you can't do this. It's all always something. It's like, had you had the right tools or understood how to communicate your desires maybe in the beginning, it would not catch that person so off guard.
Absolutely. And I mean, I have had this conversation with my girlfriends, and when I brought it up, I was asking in terms of, you know, when you feel you are the only one going through something, so you want to put it out there and ask if your friends are experiencing it. And I realized that we grew up in the era of when we weren't allowed to speak our minds. Where like your parents or someone does something, not these kids today who can talk back. We were not allowed to talk back. Somebody does something to you, you need to suck it in and go outside and cry. They'll even beat you on top. Who dares you confronting your aunties, your uncles, your parents?
Well, most parents, most of our parents do that, but there are some parents.
Exactly. I mean, and these people I was talking to, we all grew up together. So and that was our experience. And now that was manifesting, for example, to me then in my relationships where, like you said, I'm upset about something, but I did not have the vocabulary and the verbiage to say how I feel. So all this, and then I will explode. And then this person is thinking, what are you talking about? But then this happened like 3 months ago and you're now saying, I'm like, then I'm giving bars of things. And I'm like, how come you did not? I had to learn that to speak. And I remember I actually got a review at work where my boss said, you need to speak your feelings.
Wow.
Because I would be in a meeting and disagree with something, and my facial expression just changes. I shut down. My boss says there are two people that show up to the meeting. The Arab who shows up and says everything, and then the one who comes and says nothing. And if I'm not, I can talk for Africa. The people who know me know. If I come and I'm not talking, you know that there's a problem. You need to ask me what the problem is.
Right.
So that childhood situation and how I was raised translated in the kind of adult that I was unable to know how to communicate. Then I found my voice as an adult.
Oh yeah, you did.
And now we are going to talk about everything. Like, I meet people and I ask them, anyone, I will ask you certain questions. I've asked someone, a friend chaperoned a date I went on, and I asked the guy, my friend was like, the guy said he said something like, I said I wasn't trying to intimidate the guy. I'm asking real questions. These things are important. That's why I said that if you know who you are and where you're going, you know what you're looking for and the kind of partner that will work for you. I've said this on this show before. There's way people have vision boards for careers and stuff. What are you looking for? Knowing you, what kind of person will work for you. If you compromise on that, you will have these problems that we're talking about. Because there are women who are go-getters. And at the end of the day, it's going to be your husband is going to suffer. So you need the person to know what they're signing up for from day one.
Yeah.
To certain people, for even me, I'm very particular. When I meet most people and start talking about kids, in my book, I don't have room for 3 kids. There's a lot of people to take care of. And the things that I want to do, it's going to hinder. I don't want to be in the Bahamas and have 3 minions running around. Hopefully my dad isn't listening to this, but yeah.
I completely understand.
You get, so like I'm very particular with those things, even to the minute details about how many kids, how I can handle, and what time. I mean, you were like, if somebody had told you that you've married at 26, and then your life would transform, but who you're with, that's why partnership is key. This person you're with, are there room for that? And I always say that being with a successful woman is like being a coach of a star player. There is the way that the person himself must know that, can I manage this woman?
Yeah.
Am I okay with being by this woman's side? What she's on the stage and she's shining? Can you be the first gentleman?
Yeah.
And your wife is Madam President. Can your ego handle that? That's the question you need to be asking as a man if you meet someone like me or a woman who is successful. Can I handle that? I met someone in our first school. I was like, oh, I already had my master's. I was going to do something. It's like, hey, why do you like school like that? That was it for me. Once that thing came out of his mouth,
wow,
it was a wrap. That is a giant red flag.
It was a simple question.
No.
Though.
And then his dad is like, why did you like, you've gone to school plenty. No, sir. That was a red flag, and that was the end of him. Yeah, I can't even remember his name.
That's sus.
Wow.
Why do you like school? Let's say,
Sir, why are you trying to hate?
Like,
no, that's a no-no for me.
But it's just a question.
No.
It's certain questions that give you a little. insert into people's
Yeah.
minds, their thoughts.
Like,
And
Wow.
I don't know. To me, when you ask certain questions and it's like, yeah, so first date, can you cook? Can you clean? Can you? What was your mama teaching you? Clearly nothing.
nothing.
Like,
Absolutely.
Can you cook? But can you boil rice?
Some people
Like
will
something?
burn. They'll be boiling water and burn it.
Wow.
I tell that to my house girl. She burns water.
So yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what? It's interesting that you had the childhood where you couldn't speak your mind. And let me not give the wrong idea, because African Americans or Black Americans, they're very similar to Africans, honestly. You'll get slapped.
You get the backhand.
The backhand. Y'all call it cane in America. The old Southern people call it the switch, the old wooden stick that they'll hit you with. But my mother tried to allow us to express ourselves. So I am the complete opposite. We go into a meeting and I don't like something, I'm gonna be the first one. That doesn't make sense. And this is why.
Yeah.
I always try to express, but when I got married, I realized that in a fit of anger, I can be vicious in what I say, as most people when you're angry. So for the lack of better words, or knowing how to express my anger without it becoming malicious because I'm just so upset, I want to hurt you because I feel like you've hurt me, it made that I couldn't communicate. So it wasn't that I couldn't figure out the words really to say. I couldn't figure out how to put it to you in my anger at that moment.
In a way that wouldn't destroy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I realized at that time, take a step back, calm down, think about it, let it roll in your mind about 10, 15 times before it rolls off the tongue. And then by that time, now I can explain exactly.
By that time, you've seasoned it with salt and
Is
pepper.
it some pepper, some garlic, some
And
ginger.
it's nice.
It's marinated.
yeah,
Put it on the grill a little bit. I like
Yeah,
eating,
yeah,
in
yeah,
case you haven't noticed.
Yeah. We do.
So, but coming back to the main topic of, are more single women more successful? It's interesting because culturally, I've been observing Ghanaian women for this last 14 years I've been here. And it's such an interesting thing to hear the older women who are very successful tell the young girls, get married. Oh, you need to get married. Like, so for me, in Ghana, and this is just my opinion.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was
Go ahead.
having dinner with an older woman and a younger woman over the weekend. I mean, same thing. And the older one says to the younger one, you should, get married, do it. If it doesn't work, just come out. Like, at least, do it.
Check it off.
Like,
the
so
list.
that everybody will just be quiet. You've done it. It didn't work.
I mean,
you
if
can
you
done
get married and get divorced, they can't tell you anything. You tried it.
I mean, yeah.
But I've realized here in Ghana, it's like and this is just my opinion, I could be very wrong, this is just what I observe. Success in marriage is equally the same.
It's almost as if you're not married, no matter what you
So
do.
it's
you're
like-
not
Absolutely.
successful.
It's the
Yeah.
next thing.
If
When
you-
are you getting married?
When are you get married? When are you having children? And I usually hear this a lot more towards the women. I have heard it towards the men, or at least the mothers will say, "When will I have a grandchild?"
These
I've
days, they
heard
don't
that
even care
more
where the
than when will you
grandchild
get
comes
married?
from. Just get someone pregnant and have a child. They don't care where it comes from. Just check it off. And you see, that's the picket fence thing we're talking about. You will I always ask people this. It's okay. So you got married and then what?
And then I had a couple of babies.
and then
I could tell everybody I was married.
and
And then now everybody leaves me alone.
alone. I know, right? So for me, I agree with you that they make success is married. Getting married is the
If you're
definition.
not married, there's almost that what's wrong
With
you. You are too
Career,
and then the
you're
funny-
too career focused. You're too learner. You're too no.
You're too
like,
too
so
many
too
questions
questions.
at
Yeah.
the first day,
Yeah, I'll be asking interview wise because it's like, would you get on a plane if they told you that the pilot? If they started telling us like how long someone has been a pilot, we would not get on the plane. Like, this guy is a fresh graduate. I am not getting on that flight. He has zero experience.
Because I think sometimes in order to be able to say that we're married, we don't think about how much of our success in life is influenced by the person that we're married to.
That is true.
Yeah.
But if you're mindful of that, then you're very mindful of the fact that this person is good for me or
Yes.
they're not.
Yeah,
But then it's also really then about loving yourself enough to say, look, you're fine, you're sexy, I really like you, but you're not good for me, so I'm going to stop this now. Because I feel like a lot of women kind of know from the get-go that this person is
We do.
not
Yes.
good for me.
Oh, we do.
Oh,
we cannot
absolutely.
lie.
But forbidden fruit.
Every Saturday they are walking down the
Oh.
aisle. They know this is not gonna happen. You can see some real on Instagram and just know that this is going down
You
in 2
sound
months.
like a witch.
you just see the guy and you just know that this guy.
on Instagram
You
and know
look
that
at
this
you look at
marriage is
it from
over.
the save the date. Then look at you just know that this thing.
Are you sure you didn't know something prior to that? Because the thing is, some of those relationships, the friends are there and they, they're trying to be supporters, but they're like giving each other the side eye. I'm like, we saw them texting his phone last week, but okay, you was just crying 3 hours ago in the bathroom, but okay.
You wanted to do this. We support you.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, they're going down the aisle and they know that this is an issue. And that's why I said, if you compromise on the things that are important to you, it will come out. You will get divorced. You will become a part of the statistics.
And what about those women who don't even know what they want? Because it's a lot of people who just walking around life and have not a clue of what they want, who they want to be, where they're going, just like,
I think then maybe there should be some sort of blanket criteria because I got married when I was 24. At that time, I didn't know who I was, no matter which way you look at it.
Yeah.
I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know who I'd be when I'm 35. So how do you pick somebody who, do you know what I mean, is suited for a journey that you're not informed about or that you don't know about? And so even though, and I always say this, even though my first husband is one of the most amazing men to ever have been created, I still couldn't make it work because I didn't know myself enough. I didn't have enough self-actualization. I didn't understand my dreams, my goals, my personality, my needs enough. But then is it then that society puts too much pressure on us to get married young?
Absolutely.
Are we overcome by love and so we can't say, okay, I'm going to need a few more years? When you get a man, are you afraid you're going to lose him? So you quickly want to dig in, and be like, put that ring on so that I can keep you?
I mean, before I'll just keep it. If I had gotten married in my 20s, I almost did get married in my 20s.
Even right now,
if I had gotten married in
Even
my
right
20s,
now.
I know for sure I'll be divorced by now because I am not who I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Like I said, there are certain conversations I couldn't even think about having. There's certain questions I couldn't even ask at that age. I didn't know who I was and what I was doing. So for me, I don't think that you need to marry young. You need to get some level of self-awareness and actualization.
Yeah, but the sad thing, Aram, is that as the years go by as a woman, unfortunately, and I think it's really dumb, but unfortunately, society sees your value or your wife,
Decreasing.
whatever. It's funny, go down as you get older. But I feel like actually your value goes up as you get older because you're wise.
See, that's why you see, I always say that who is society? And then I just want to ask, but you can comment, who did society wake up this morning and give you 2 CDs for food?
Okay, on that note, we're going to take a quick... Okay.
I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, so...
I'll tell you this. I've known since I was young I wanted to have a family.
Okay.
That one. I remember playing with my little Barbies, and my Barbies were not named Ken and Barbie because I'm black. So, they was like LaQuisha and Trayvon or something like that, or, Destiny, some one of those names or something. But I've always known I've wanted a family.
Yeah.
That has always been something I knew. Now, did I know when? Did I know who? With my husband, it's interesting. You was like, the person who will influence you. It's because of my husband. I'm into technology. I'll tell you right now. I was the one in high school trying to do tapping on it, like typing, and I'll start slapping the computer because in my mind, violence works.
slap the TV, it will its
You
brain
know,
will reset.
the TV is working somewhere. You pop the TV.
You never had those TVs? The one that you slap the side of the brain and it comes back?
Let's move
Yeah, the
on.
big box. The children of today, they don't know what
Yeah,
that
they don't know
is.
that.
But so then I was always into customer service. I'm very good with people. And he's like, he got into IT. And I'm like, what's that? Tell me a little bit more. And that doesn't make sense. I don't like computers. And then he was like, well, why don't you try it? And I don't want to do that. And I'm like, okay, let me do it. I'm bored. I ain't doing nothing because I had just had a kid. And then I said, okay. It was challenging, but then I realized he was encouraging me, giving me information. I'm listening to him talk about it. And it's over the years I realized his choices actually influenced me. And then I actually realized, oh, I'm actually decent at this. I actually understand this. I actually can take this and explain it to someone else. So in a relationship, you can also, I think sometimes we also need to know that while we may not always have the answers, it is good sometimes to lean on other people who may have a path for themselves.
Provided your husband is sensible, that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So don't marry an idiot. I mean, I always say.
Oh, I read that this week. They said getting married and having a kid is something you should not do with a stupid person.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people out there.
And that goes both ways anyway.
Yes, because it's a lot of people out here having kids who shouldn't.
Okay, so we're going to open the phone lines. I'm going to take your messages. Let me open the phone lines. I'd love to hear from you. If you're a woman, tell us what it's like, trying to balance being successful and being married. And if you're a guy, tell us why you guys have such big problems. Not just in this, just in everything. I'm just kidding. But you know what to do. 0302-216-541. 0302-216-541. All right. This one says, it depends on who you're married to. There are married women who are super successful. There are also single women who are very lousy in their careers. Some men who have absolute self-esteem even encourage their wives to reach the summit of their careers without feeling intimidated. These women, in turn, make sure to also encourage their husbands to reach the summit of their careers. It's teamwork. Very importantly, there must be respect between the two. No matter the level you reach in your career, when you get home, your husband and wife, don't ever forget this. No lording over the other. Before you get married, these things must be discussed and agreed upon. I think before you get married, you should sit down with a lawyer and actually spell out the terms of the marriage and sign it.
These days we have relationship contracts.
Yeah, so that, when things like this come out, you can refer to section 2.1 about
of our agreement says that.
Yeah, okay, let me just finish this. No, before you get married, these things should be discussed. It's not just about the love stuff, but the love stuff is so nice. Marriage is very serious business, which must be taken very seriously. To get a successful marriage, you must work for it. People must know this. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, what's your name?
Nana.
Nana?
Yes.
What's up?
I'm here during the conversation.
Okay.
In the world where we find ourselves, if you're a woman and you don't marry a human being who will support your dreams, you suffer. A lot of women, their lives cease to exist when they marry. And somehow, I don't blame them. I blame how and what we've been practicing our whole lives. Our tradition, our culture, religion. In fact, when you are born, your life is defined for you as to how you should be in a marriage. You are not allowed to define yourself in the marriage and do what works for you. You are told to do what is supposed to work for you. Do you understand? In this part, it looks like wealth is for men alone. So when you marry a man, and you are someone who have ambitions and dreams, what are you doing it for? At the end of the day, I'm the one who's supposed to do this and that for you. So what do you mean you want to go and do this and that? Do you understand? So yes, in a lot of marriages, it will be very difficult, especially in this part of our world, for a woman to go out there and be herself, unless she marries a man who understands that the woman is also a human being who might have ambitions and want to pursue them after the marriage and support them in doing that. Me, my joy will be that I'm married to this woman who is so much successful in her endeavor. And when she mounts that platform, I'll be sitting in the VIP while the people clap, the audience clap. I will smile and point and say, "That's my wife." You see, but how many men can handle this? We are raised ego. We talk about ego all the time, as if men are the only ones who have ego. You are women to have, but men are the ones. We have ego. Do you understand? And we massage our ego. They say a man's ego should be aside, but what about the woman too? Doesn't she have feelings too? Only the one idea if she buys with her own money, isn't it nice? So, Charlie, as for this one, there, marry a supportive partner.
Okay.
A partner who is open-minded.
Thank
you. A
you so
partner who is open-minded. It will help you.
Okay, Nana. Thank you so much for that. All right. Know your ambitions and get a partner who is cultured in a way that won't impede the achievement of these ambitions. And this can be done by really getting to know your partner to minimize the shocks in your marriage. From Niaite in Dakuman, how well can you really know someone, though? That's the thing. Not until you live with them. Yeah, that's what a lot of people say. Marriage in the African traditional definition does not give room for women to thrive in their endeavors. However, if you're fortunate to marry a human who miraculously unlearns the stereotype and doesn't follow the dogma, then maybe her life won't cease to exist when she commits. Wow, Nanako, see, that's a lot of big English. Culture, religion, and tradition defines for the people who they must be in marriages. Success, wealth is not the birthright to men like it's been made to look like in Africa. Personally, what gives me joy is cruising in a nice ride, and when I'm asked about it, I'll respond with a smile. My wife puts it for me. Marry partners who support your dream. Good evening. I love that. That is very nice.
I'm sure it's the same Nana that called. I won't be surprised if it's the same person that called.
Because the sentiments are quite similar.
Yeah.
Ajingo the man says, good evening, Madam Animwaa and friends. To me, a single woman can be successful based on the way she manages herself. Most of them, though, single, but responsible single mothers. Ajima Joseph. I don't... Okay. Hello, good evening.
Evening.
Hi, what's your name?
This is Nicholas from Nico.
Hey, Nico. What's up?
Yeah. I did for you.
All right, I did for you too. What's up? What's on your mind?
I just tuned in.
Okay.
But for the last caller said, I don't know if I'm right, but it's like how your partner will help you, right?
Asamo, Nico, so, okay, yes.
Yes.
Are single women likely to be more successful than married women?
Is that so?
Yeah, that's the topic.
That's the topic.
Yes,
okay,
Nico. That's the topic.
But me, I would say my own.
Oh,
I am not single, but she's been of good help, and she has told me that even if I should go my way, she will still be successful.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not saying she's going her way. Okay.
She can.
However, there are women who can stay on their own without men.
Yeah.
Yes. That is what I want you to know. Some men think that without them, women cannot survive. There are women who can survive on their own. And my wife is one. She will keep quiet over certain things. Then at the end of the day, I'll ask, oh, how? And she said, oh, she has sorted that out. So I can imagine at the end of the day, if she is alone, it means she will be able to live and live well.
I get that.
Are you getting me?
Yeah, I'm getting you.
Yes. So I just want to tell that, yes, some can be able to stand well on their own.
All right. Nico, thank you so much. I mean, considering you just joined us. Really enjoyed your contributions. Thank you so much. Aram, you have something to say?
No, I mean, it's almost we're about to leave the studio, even though I'm not the host. I just have to say that, like we've been saying, you need to know yourself. When you meet someone, have these conversations very early. Everybody should be able to speak what their ambitions are, what they want to do. When we say you should ask people what their 5-year plan and 10-year plans is, it's not just for asking sake. It's because of some of these things. Some of you have jackpotting plans. You need to know if the person you are with wants to jackpot or they want to stay in Ghana. You know?
Oh, that's what it's called now.
Yes, you want to jackpot. So these conversations, maybe somebody wants to stay in Ghana because their business is here and this is where they will thrive. Some people maybe listen, we're online, so you can listen outside. Some people also want to relocate to the motherland. Does your partner want to come to the motherland, or they want to stay there?
Are you ready for a long distance
Are you ready for a long distance relationship? The person is in a career where they can be traveling. The person is in the career where I am in, where I'm interacting with people of the opposite sex on a regular. That's a part of my job. Are you going to be comfortable with that? Can your ego handle that? If your ego cannot handle that, say that. Don't pick a woman who is ambitious and try to subdue her. And then don't be an ambitious woman and marry a guy who you think that you can enforce your ambitions on. Find your tribe, a like-minded person. And with Yael, I just want to say I agree with you that sometimes who we marry, even the men we are, if you have a good man, if you're ambitious, you will be better. If you have a terrible man, he can kill your ambition. So choose wisely.
Yeah, he can kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, you and your ambition.
Yeah. Final words.
I believe everything is just respect. I think sometimes we move away from just something as simple as just learning to respect one another and respecting ourselves. Respecting yourself enough to understand what do you want, what do you stand for, and where are your boundaries. When you can get those things down, then I think that you can learn to communicate, and you can also find somebody, like you said, of your own tribe, and somebody who compliments you rather than bringing you down. But without, without having that respect for yourself enough to know this is not something that I can do, this is not something that I can align with, you later create a path of resistance, a resistance for your relationship and a resistance for your own happiness and well-being. So learn to respect yourself, learn to respect those around you, and be courageous enough to know when it ain't working for you.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let me just take a few of your messages before we go. Mostly, it's like almost everyone seems to have problems with the traditions of our continent. Nevertheless, none of these guys never think out of the box. A lot of our mothers made it big whilst their husbands with their husbands, except those who had ulterior motives. Yes, there may be few ones who didn't understand being supportive. All right, well, thank you, Mangu. You can make it on your own, but two fighting a battle are more likely to succeed than one. That's if you're fighting one battle. But two people in one house fighting two different battles, and fighting each other.
If you are the battle,
exactly,
you will be fought.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, thank you to Yael and Aram for joining us tonight. A very big thank you to the whole team, Abeku, Crispy, Anita, Mirabelle, and everyone who makes our show great. My name is Animwaa Anim-Addo. Coming up next is the news at 8. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, though at 7 o'clock. This is Strong and Sassy. Stay tuned in and